Buzzfeed, one of the high peaks of millennial media, claimed an audience in 2013 to 2014 greater than the Super Bowls, but with only a scintilla of the Super Bowl's revenues. Instead of that being a crisis, a stark indicator of a valueless or hopelessly commodified audience, it suggested, in a sleight of hand, certain opportunity. It had the numbers, hence, of course, it would get the advertisers. No, the future only goes in one direction. At the same time that Buzzfeed was making this argument, its editor, Ben Smith, was acknowledging that it probably wouldn't be around in 3 years, or would have transformed into something else. It's the 20-year promise. We'll eat television's lunch because, tautologically, we are the future. As per Mark Andreessen, it's zero-sum. Brand advertising is not going to increase to support both television and digital media. Therefore, one lives at the other's expense. Because digital media is overwhelmingly ad-supported, whereas half of television's income comes from other sources, brand advertising is a particularly pressing issue for the digital business. Television's largely imperturbable dominance ought to play against digital's argument, and yet it does not. History, we believe, is on the side of the rebels, although, in fact, that is hardly true at all, and it becomes more confusing when the rebels turn into the establishment. The real narrative remains black and white. Over 20 years, television advertising has remained largely stable. Only a small number of big brand advertisers have moved substantial parts of their budgets into digital media, with the experience often being a negative or equivocal one. SNL Kagan, the television business monitoring group, lays out an extraordinary 20-year upswing for television, from $2 billion in profits, inflation adjusted, to $20 billion in profits, with margins rising to 41%. And yet, digital media in that time has also, from a practically zero base, gathered, in addition to a virtually immeasurable audience, vast amounts of direct response advertising, making it, in real and extraordinary ways, the other parallel medium and advertising destination. But the failure to intersect becomes among the most defining features of the two mediums. In this, digital media has truly replaced newspapers' disposable, largely low-level content and cheap advertising, and television has remained television. Digital media's value, however, its yet unnatural multiples, is vastly greater than a collective newspaper. This is in part because it foresees some ultimate monetizable place for itself in the consumer funnel, some data-oriented, transactional, cash register-moving result in which it might someday and somehow participate. But it is also because it continues to make the argument, in essence a demographic one, of an inevitable victory over television and usurpation of television advertising revenues. A dip in television ad spending in late 2014 and a summer ratings drop was, again, a certain harbinger of a shift. It is the binary argument. A loss for one must be a stampede to the other. As it happens, not only has that shift in fact yet to occur on a structural level, but when a shift does happen, it tends not so much to be a shift as a downgrade, as high-margin brand advertising transforms into low-margin direct response. In this, television might lose, but likewise, digital media does not advance. Analyst Michael Nathanson, part of a group of